This is Dimitri Lascaris reporting for the Real News Network from the port in Naples, Italy. We are seated in front of the ships of the Gaza Flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla, which have been docked here for a couple of days, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Yonatan Shapira. Yonatan is a former rescue pilot in the Israeli Air Force. He's also a founding member and prominent activist of the Israeli movement Boycott from Within. And I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today, Yonatan.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
So I'd like to start by talking about your experiences within the Israeli Air Force and your decision ultimately to become a dissenter from military service. Could you tell us about that?
Well, there is a long story to tell here, but I'll just try to say in a few words that in 2003, after more than 10 years of service in the Israeli Air Force, I was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot doing rescues and flying soldiers and doing everything that I was asked. I realized together with the other friends in the Air Force that we are fighting for the wrong side, and we are part of an organization that commits crime against innocent Palestinians, and we do not want to be part of it anymore. So together with a group of about 27 pilots from all different squadrons of the Israeli Air Force, attack pilots, rescue pilots like me and others, veterans and active, we sent this letter to our commander and the whole society in Israel, telling them that we are no longer willing to obey the orders and be part of this illegal and criminal and immoral occupation. That's what started my life as an activist 15 years ago, in the eve of the Jewish year, Rosh Hashanah.
And subsequently, you became a prominent member, as I mentioned at the outset, of this movement, Boycott from Within. Can you tell us what is it like being an Israeli citizen advocating for the imposition of a boycott, given the attitude of the Israeli government towards the whole boycott movement?
As a human being, I'm very proud of it. I feel super confident about what we... There are many activists. We are still a minority of a minority, but there are activists in Israel who are calling for boycott, divestment, and sanctions because we believe it's for the benefit of all people, Palestinian people and Jewish people and everyone living there and everyone in the world. Of course, the Zionist society in Israel doesn't like it. So you pay the little price of being a dissenter in an apartheid. So you get some benefit, some of your privilege away, but overall, I'm still able to be there when I'm there and lead relative comfortable life. And slowly, the apartheid system is trying to make it harder and harder and more difficult on us. But again, when I look and compare my life to a life of a Palestinian or a refugee in Israel, or even a non-white Ashkenazi Israeli man in Israel, I'm still able to live quite comfortable. As we speak, there are many trying in the parliament to make the apartheid in Israel more official. So the different laws that are trying to constitute that will make it even harder for us to still be free, to still act. And it's just important to remember that Israel claimed to be a democracy. It is not. It's an apartheid. It's led by a group of fascist Jewish supremacy people and prime minister and ministers. But if you are a Zionist Jew, you can feel a great democracy. If you are not a Zionist and if you're not a Jew, you're living in apartheid.
Now, you've participated on prior missions of the Freedom Flotilla. Could you tell me why and also how you were received by your former colleagues within the Israeli military when the vessels were intercepted on those occasions?
The first time I tried to break the blockade with a group of activists was 2010. about 3 months after what happened on the Mavi Marmara, where the Israeli army shot and killed about 10 activists from Turkey, most of them. The helicopter that landed the soldiers that killed and massacred the people on the Mavi Marmara were helicopters from the squadron I used to fly in, this Black Hawk squadron in the Israeli Air Force. Therefore, I decided that I must participate in the second boat that will try to break the blockade. It happened in September 2010. We were very small, and we were intercepted by many warships, small and big. And if we were Palestinians or Turks, I guess they would shoot us and kill us maybe, but I got the better treatment of a taser gun in my heart. So maybe they thought that they will resuscitate my Zionist behavior, my Zionist heart will start beating again. But instead it just made me more clear about my decision and confident about the need to struggle against this apartheid and against this illegal crime of ghettoization and concentration of 2 million people. The second attempt was 2011, about a year later. I was on a crew of the Audacity of Hope. It was a big American boat. And we were part of the second flotilla trying to leave from the port of Piraeus in Greece. Unfortunately, the Greek government was co-opted by Israel and the US, and with different pressure, I guess, they obeyed Bibi Netanyahu, and we had a big sign saying, who's your commander, Netanyahu or Poseidon? Who's the god of the sea? Is it Israel or the Greek Poseidon? Unfortunately, it was Netanyahu, and on a gunpoint, we were stopped by the Greek Coast Guard just a few minutes after leaving the port of Piraeus. And we had to go back and were detained by the Greeks. And the third attempt was 2012 with the Ship to Gaza, the Swedish group that was with many international organizations, and a Finnish flag boat named Estelle. We had other Israelis on board, Reut and Elik and Dror Feiler also. And we were also stopped about 40 miles from shore, from Gaza. This time it was a big operation. I guess they use it as a maneuver for training their forces, because they know that we are not posing any threat, like military threat on them. So they were hundreds, maybe thousands of soldiers participating, about 15 warships, big and small. And also one Black Hawk helicopter that came and circled above us. And when I look at it on the tail, I could see that the number on the tail is 852, which is the same helicopter, the same piece of metal that I used to fly some years before. They again arrested us, tasered us, and took us to the Navy base of Ashdod. And we spent a few days arrested.
I'd like to talk to you about the future to conclude, and those of us in the West watching with trepidation what's happening it seems to be that every day the predicament of the Palestinian people is worse, and that the Israeli government's sense of impunity is on the increase, if anything. Are you feeling hopeful based upon what you see for the cause of Palestinian justice for the Palestinian people? Do you see signs that this is a battle that is being won ultimately, and that this is something that may actually be won within your lifetime?
Well, what gives me hope is nothing about the governments and the system that controls us in your country, in my country. I see a lot of hypocrisy all over Europe and elsewhere, and also Canada. What gives me hope is to see the popular struggle of Palestinians that are showing incredible bravery. That reminds me what I grew up on, the struggle in the ghettos, in the Warsaw Ghetto and other ghettos, with all the courage to walk into the fence, towards the fence of this biggest prison in the world, armless, without bearing any arms, walking and trying to protest this siege gives me a lot of hope, because I think that's where the mighty power of the Israeli military collapses. When we have thousands and thousands of Palestinians that are uniting, holding hands and standing in front of the Israeli snipers, that gives me hope. That means that it's not going to be able to last forever. And things like that gives me hope. To be together with Spanish, Italians, Americans, Canadians, Norwegian, Swedish, everyone, it means that somewhere on a deep nerve of many people around the world, it's quite clear that this symbolic struggle of the Palestinians for freedom will be won at some point. And our job is to not be deterred, and not lose our hope when we see the hypocritical governments in one hand saying something against Israel crimes, and on the other hand still doing armed trade with them and giving them all the impunity and all the actual support to continue with this massacre and this illegality. But it's important to say to everyone who listens to us that we need you. We need this person that now maybe sit in Canada or in the US or in elsewhere in Europe or somewhere else. We need you to join this struggle. And this struggle is not just about freedom for Palestinians. It's about the struggle against what Europe and the US and other countries are doing to refugees that are trying to escape the horrors in Africa. It's the same struggle. It's the struggle of the people who have less to be recognized and to get their basic human right. So if you want to be part of this struggle, wherever you are, you don't have to come all the way and join us in this flotilla. You can be active in your local community for justice for everyone, and then you're part of the struggle for justice for Palestine.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for speaking with The Real News today, Yonatan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming here, and good luck with your health.
Thank you very much. And this is Dimitri Lascaris reporting for The Real News from Naples, Italy.